guys, so I live in a New York City cave, and most of my cave is filled with records, as you know. I've touched on this in previous videos, but I wanted to kind of go through all my shelves and show you guys how I organize my records, because I take pride in my organization, and if some of you are struggling on how to organize, whether it's by artist or by genre, let me show you what I do, and maybe it'll help you out. Before we dive into the stacks, I just want to say these shelves are IKEA Kallaxes. The previous form was called Expedits. You can probably find those used. One or the other, they're interchangeable to me. Very slight differences, but ultimately, those are kind of the industry standard when it comes to putting your records on display, like we do. So we're going to basically just go through all the shelves. I'm going to tell you what you can find there and how I organize it, and you guys will get a better idea of how I have my collection set up in a very small space. One day, if I have a larger space, which is the goal, I think the organization will change again, and at that point, of course, I'll tell you guys about it. But right now, this works for me, and let me show you what I got. If you haven't already, it'd be awesome if you'd like this video, hit the red subscribe button, and turn your bell notifications on so you don't miss out on any weekly videos I put out. This shelf right behind me is probably the best alphabetized shelving unit in the room. When I get over here, it's a little more chaotic, but everything in the room is separated by genre. I feel like that's the best way when you're in the mood for a certain record to be able to go find something that you want to hear. We're going to start over here on the left. This is my hip-hop and R&B. When I talk hip-hop, I'm saying it's pretty much like the late 80s through maybe 2015. There's another shelf for the really modern stuff, and I'll get to that in a bit. But this is kind of just like the classics. I melded hip-hop and R&B because I have a lot of hip-hop, less R&B. There wasn't enough strictly R&B stuff that isn't hip-hop influenced to have its own shelf, but I figured it fit in pretty well over here. So in this shelf, I mean, you're gonna find stuff like Drake and Childish Gambino, even some more modern stuff like Action Bronson, but not necessarily as modern as the stuff in the other shelf. And if you come down here a little bit, of course, you're going to end up seeing things like Kid Cudi, and of course, Watch the Throne, and the rest of my Kanye, and even stuff like Gorillaz I file here, because it is more or less a hip-hop project. So this shelf, the big boy, is going to be separated by the first 3 rows, and then the bottom row is totally separate. So let's just deal with the first 3 rows right now. So these first 3 rows are pretty much rock, and indie folk from the 90s through present day. This is the bulk of my collection. This is really what I'm mostly into, whether it's Pearl Jam or Animal Collective. In this shelf, you'll see things like Bon Iver and Cartel, My Chemical Romance, Modest Mouse. Pretty much everything from the indie era that I love is going to be in these 3 rows. And I think that's a lot of records to have for that era. I don't think I need more than this, so if I ever want to get more and it fills up, I kind of want to cull it as best I can and really make sure that it's all killer, no filler. So down here is an amalgamation of down-tempo electronic, kind of trip-hop, loungy stuff that you can kind of groove to. Some of the examples of artists you'll find here are Blue Sky Black Death. We even got some James Blake. Of course, we have Caribou, Little Fortet, and you go as far as stuff as like Massive Attack, M83. I love this genre of music. I only have 4 cubes of it, which is a pretty decent amount. Again, like the above, I feel like if I have more than this, I need to cull it and kind of keep it intact. It's really a space limitation, not a music limitation. There's far more albums than this that I enjoy, but I really, like I said, want to keep it all killer, no filler. Now we come over here. Special guest feature is Molly, my roommate's cat. You may recognize her from Instagram. She never is allowed in here because she sheds like a monster and not good for the records. So get a little peek, Now it's time to leave. Bye-bye. These 12 cubes right here all pretty much have a different purpose, so let's go cube by cube and I'll explain. Up here we have soundtracks. I don't listen to soundtracks as much as I feel like I should, so I really want to keep my favorite movies. You know, we have things like Guardians of the Galaxy, the Scream print cover, Coraline for any Leica fans. You gotta have the Phantom Menace for Duel of the Fates. Then you have classics like Into the Wild, Eddie Vedder, and my favorite soundtrack of all time, Singles. Moving further down, this is actually going to be all video game soundtracks. So this is separated because I have a lot of them. I've been a gamer for most of my life, and a lot of game soundtracks mean a lot to me. So I have so many interesting ones, from Super Mario World to Banjo-Kazooie, which is one of my favorite soundtracks ever, to things like Mortal Kombat 1 and 2, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, just pretty much any game I've played and enjoyed that has a vinyl release, which there's getting more and more these days, is represented here. And then down here is my vaporwave cube. I know I talk about vaporwave a lot on the channel. You might be surprised to know I only have one cube worth of records. It's because for me, vaporwave is really great, but a lot of it can kind of sound the same. So to be special and differentiate itself, that allows me to buy it on vinyl. Some of my favorites are in here. You know, we have George Clanton's 100% Electronica. This is a Death's Dynamic Shroud album. The most iconic vaporwave album of all, Floral Shop by Macintosh Plus. And some good ones like Blank Banshee. There's also some future funk here as well, which I kind of lump in the same world. So these three right here, let's start at the top. This is my world music section. I have a little bit of jazz in here too. As you guys know, I'm not a huge jazz person, but any jazz records I kind of lump into this. Mostly Brazilian albums. Everything from Marcos Valle to this really cool João Gilberto little box I found. Not just Brazilian, I also have Amanaz Africa. Of course, I have this classic, the Mo-Fi pressing of Gets Gilberto. A lot of João Gilberto in here. Damn it, Molly, what are you doing? Moving down here, these are two shelves of classic music. I know this channel gets a lot of recommendations to talk more about old school music from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. These are my picks of all the stuff I own. I own more than this. Some of it's outside of my living room. Some of the stuff I wouldn't listen to as much. These are my favorites of my favorites. You know, we have stuff like Simon and Garfunkel. I need to get a better copy of this. We have, of course, Velvet Underground and Nico. Bob Dylan, also need a better copy of that. Springsteen, Born to Run. Then some good stuff like Depeche Mode, Violator. I still consider this old school. And down here we just have some more Rolling Stones, Beggar's Banquet. This is actually DJ Shadow's second copy of this record. I picked it up at his sale in LA, which was cool. Zombies, Odyssey and Oracle. Just a lot of really classic. Purple Rain. Like this, again, is following my philosophy of all killer, no filler. Joni Mitchell, Jira. And then, of course, one of my favorites of all time, Pink Floyd, Animals. As you guys know, love this. So let's move on to these three. These are all pretty radically different. The top shelf, I alluded to this before in the video. This is more modern underground hip hop. I feel like I've really fallen in love with the dope scene and all of those people like West Side Gun and the Griselda guys, Crime Apple, and things like that. And I kind of went a little overboard with buying some of the records. What do we got here? We got Denzel Curry in here, some West Side Gun, like I said, Crime Apple, and, you know, even stuff like Billy Woods, the recent repress of this, and it goes as far as Lil Peep as well. Stuff that's just kind of modern and really taking the scene by storm. This is one of my favorites right here, So the Flies Don't Come by Milo. Amazing record. Very hard to find though. Moving down to this shelf, we are working with ambient and modern classical. Again, just one shelf worth of this. Really want to try to get the best of the best. Sometimes ambient music can sound very similar, so I really want to get stuff that kind of sets itself apart. Stuff like A Winged Victory for the Sullen, or I really love this record, The American Dollar, A Memory Stream. Really beautiful. And then, of course, some big classics everyone likes, like Stars of the Lid. And I've even got some Pantha du Prince in here as well. So kind of blending these two boxes right here. These are some overflow box sets. I forgot to show you guys some box sets up there, which I'll show right after this. But these are box sets that I just don't have room for up there. I have this really cool Piper at the Gates of Dawn, Pink Floyd. It has this like lenticular cover. And there's 5 discs of material, demos, alternate takes. It's really cool. It's a really unique find. I got this really good Echoes of Miles Soundgarden B-sides and covers box set. It still has the Amazon warehouse deal sticker. I got a really good deal on it. Iconic soundtrack, The Last of Us, done by Mondo. Really good. Great video game if you haven't played it. And then we got stuff over here like, you know, Bob Dylan from the Rolling Thunder Review. The original press of it, which is really awesome. So some overflow boxes down here. As we move over to these two, we are working right here. I decided recently to separate all of my live albums. Sometimes you're in the mood just to hear a good live recording. Some are better than others, but right here is where my live records live. You know, we have stuff like Chris Cornell Songbook, which is just one of my favorite records I own. I love this Jose Gonzalez box with the String Theory Orchestra. I was actually at this George Harrison tribute concert in LA, so it was really cool that they pressed it to vinyl. A lot of great people performed here. Weird Al, Brandon Flowers, Norah Jones, Brian Wilson. I got a lot of live Pearl Jam in here. Just some really good stuff if you want to kind of sink your teeth into it. Up here, the last cube I will show from here is my lo-fi hip-hop and beat tapes. Obviously we have some new Jabez, because I talk about them incessantly, and speaking of new Jabez, we got Samurai Champloo soundtrack. But yeah, everything from like Zelda and Chill through some more underground stuff like Space Windu, Escapism, pretty much a lot of the vinyl digital stuff, and just, you know, really good hip-hop beat tapes that I've found, they go up here. So the big record storage challenge I have is, where the heck do you put this Aphex Twin Drugs box set? 4 discs are in here. It is the most oblong, ridiculous piece, so I just kind of leave it up there on display. But it is hiding some beautiful box sets. I mean, we have Basinski's Disintegration Loops, which is an amazing historical ambient piece. We have Run the Jewels box set. We have 2 Pearl Jam Super Deluxe sets. This right here is a really cool recent acquisition. I've yet to pop it open. It is a Metallica numbered box set featuring Kill 'Em All, Red Lightning, Master of Puppets, and Justice for All, and the Garage Days EP. And apparently these versions sound pretty incredible, so I'm excited to dive in. And over here, more box sets. We have L1011's discography, really good post-rock. We have Third Eye Blind's discography box set, which is one of my prized pieces in my collection. Chris Cornell box set, which is my favorite box set I own. Some good Sufjan Christmas stuff when you're in the mood for that. Red House Painters. It's really just, you know, run the gamut of all the stuff I really love. And finally, the most relevant part is the thing that we all struggle with when we buy a lot of records. It's the backlog. So I love my Linephono display for the Marantz and the Clearaudio concept. But right here, these 2 shelves that they provide are all to listen to records. They're ones that I picked up recently or haven't had a chance to spin yet. So these are the ones I gotta get through, and then once I do, I'll be one step closer to a clean room of no record chaos. I hope you guys like this video. Please leave a comment with how you organize your records, or if you have any thoughts about how I can organize mine better, I'd love to hear it. If you like this video, there's more coming all the time, so thank you for watching Too Many Records, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Take it easy.